Let's talk exhaustion bars on the Alpha Prime. Hey guys, welcome to Block Party Learn, where I am going to tell you all about everything in Block Party, from indicators, channels, strategies, and bots. Make sure you watch all the videos to fully understand what we can offer and what it can do for you. Let's get into it. First of all, head on up to Alpha Prime and click on the settings. There you can see just where the exhaustion bars menu is found. Just this section is what we're going to be focusing on today. There are a couple of other additional areas which I want you to take note of. First of all is at the very top here where it says show exhaustion pullback signals, which is denoted by the E. You want to make sure that that is on. For the purpose of this video, I have turned off the rest of them to make it crystal clear of where these signals are appearing. Secondly, just down at the very bottom where you can see all of these alerts. And if you want to make sure that your exhaustion signals are alerting you, then make sure exhaustion long and exhaustion short are turned on. And lastly, you can head on down to the message box, which is just down here, and you can type in anything you want, whether it may be an alert command for a bot, or just simply to let you know what you want to be doing when you get alerted to that signal. Additionally, it is also important to note, as I've mentioned before regarding these alerts, if you do want to send any signals or commands to a bot, to make sure that the auto add asset variables is turned off, and also any text is removed from the bot and replaced with your API command. And there you can set up any automated trading you want. However, let's head on back to the exhaustion signals. Exhaustion signals are pretty much as they sound. So what happens is when we see ourselves in a consistent uptrend or downtrend and the bars are moving all in that direction, when we see a significant exhaustion, which can be denoted by a wick or some of the other various logic that's contained within, then you'll get given an exhaustion signal. Look at it like this. If there's a bunch of runners in a race or a marathon, or they're all running in a running club and they get to 10 kilometers in, some of the runners will say, I'm exhausted, and they're going to bow out. Then there are fewer trader runners left. They're the new version of trader devs. There's still some runners left. Then they get 15 kilometers, some more drop out, and then they get to 20 kilometers, at which point the last of the runners drop out. And that basically is an exhaustion signal, except within trading. And it means now that the sellers are taking over. And this is an attempt at trying to lock that in a signal format. It doesn't always work, like every single signal generator or logic. Nothing works 100% of the time. But there are a few things that you can add in there for There are a few additional things that you can add in for confluence to help give you a better confirmation that this signal may be valid. Now, if we're to look at them on a chart, we're currently using the daily on T-Fuel right now, and we're seeing some examples of the signals. We get one there, which takes us, we get one just here, which takes us up 15%, and we get a signal here, which then takes us quickly down 31%. But also we can see signals like this, which we attempt to see an exhaustion candle, but the price smashes on through. So like everything, like I said, they don't work every time, but when they do, they can really show you a shift in the mean reversion and pull in some amazing profits. Let's take a look at some of the settings. So head on back up to Alpha Prime and click on the cog. We'll move this over here and head on down. So first up, we have show exhaustion signals. Now this is actually repeated, but make sure it's still on. I'll probably remove that in time. The first one is the exhaustion swing length. This is quite simply how far. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings. Head on up to Alpha Prime and then under the little cog at the top. Just there, scroll down to where the exhaustion signals settings are. And we'll see what changes when we move them around. Now make sure show exhaustion signals are on. I will probably remove that in time because we already have a on-off button. Exhaustion signal swing length. This is quite simply how far we look back in regards to the actual swing itself before we denote a signal. If we are to increase that to 40, then we'll see we're waiting for essentially more confirmation. Now what happens here is the signals in theory do get a little bit stronger, but become way more infrequent. Although we have found that the default setting of 10 has been probably the most successful. When we start to actually look at the signals themselves, we can see that we seem to be catching really where we want to be catching as well. Now, like I said, we still do get comparatively some signals when they are caught in aggressive up and down trends, but for the most part, they work pretty successfully. Now head on back to settings and we can look at the bar count. The exhaustion bar count is simply how many bars we look back in order to denote this big change in trend, or the potential exhaustion in the extension of the wick and the other logic that's coming in there. Again, the further we look back, generally the more confirmation we get. So we put this pretty high at 20, but if we were to reduce it down to, let's say, 5, most of the time we'll see an actual increase in the number of signals because we are taking fewer bars into consideration when actually posting the signal. But instead, like I said, the default settings are pretty tried and tested and what we have found to be some of the more reliable settings. And as you can see there, and we don't need to worry about the line thickness because this is actually applied to the trend menu and we'll talk about that in the next video. If you do want to change any of the colors of the signals, then you can head on over to the style settings and right on down to where it says exhaustion buy here and exhaustion sell there, and you can change the colors at your will. So let's take a look at how we can actually trade these signals. Now, with a lot of signals, generally the higher time frame you'll get more confirmation, and it is no different with the exhaustion bars. So if we move up, for example, to the 1 day, then we can see that pretty much over the entire history of Theta, we have, given a bit of time, pretty much 100% hit rate. With this down signal here taking 36%, this up signal 151%, 93% here, 305% there, 614% there, 39% there, 12% there, 51%, 42%, you get the general idea. But as well, we kind of want to make sure that we're not, if we are using stop losses and stuff like that, we want to try and figure out where to be putting these stop losses, for example. So let's take a look at one of these signals. Here is a good example where we actually get noted of this signal around about halfway down. Now, would we want to be entering right there? The reality is probably not, but let's have a look at how we can confirm a better entry on this signal, or maybe even giving it a miss as we do go up quite high. So when I'm looking at trading these exhaustion bars or anything of that nature, I'm looking for some significant support or resistance that I'm going to come into. So if we take it back to this point in time, it'll give us a bit of a clearer idea, and obviously we can't see forward. So what's quite key about this point here? Well, as the trade comes down, we've got the support and resistance zone right here, and as we can see, we've clearly bounced off just here, and we're actually on a bit of a bounce and a retrace back up. And if we had to guess, or even draw in a line, we'd say that there is quite a key resistance just here, which means that we are bouncing off and we have now just regained this support just here as well. So it's looking a little bit risky if we're going to enter this. But we do have our eye on it, and we're going to follow it up. So when we start to get to around about this point here, for me, this would look like quite a good entry point because we're getting a bit of a rejection. This resistance line's got quite a few contacts from here, 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 and even here and here as well. So this is looking like quite a strong resistance in both printing a lower low and potentially a new lower high. So if we were to take this trade, then I'd be looking at something like this, putting in a short, and this is my entry point, and I wouldn't want to commit too much to it, but if we were to put it up there, that is 30%, it's quite a large one, but we'd be looking a little bit further back and seeing how far this would take us down. So that is something around about my targets, although maybe I don't want to put my stop loss too high up. So probably something about here and using this little area of resistance just here as my stop loss. So even a little bit lower. And then we're looking at a nice 1.9 to 2 risk reward. So let's see that play out. We know where this is going to go, obviously. And then it pretty much retraces exactly at the point where we said, which is nice. But we also got an indication that we're going to be aware of this signal because we're seeing a weakness in trend. So we know that this trend is weakening. However, we don't want to commit just yet because we've identified a few things that are saying maybe don't go in just yet. But let's take a look at another signal as well, which is a more confirmed one. And for me, this would be a crystal clear signal right here. In fact, so with this one and also so with this one. But for the sake of this one, let's look at this signal right here. So we'll go back in time just to give ourselves a bit more of an illusion of it happening in real time. So what are the key identifiers right here? Well, first of all, we have our support line, which has been printed on for us by the Alpha Prime, just here in the green line. We've come up and we've broken through and we've got a new higher high just here. We've come down and we've tapped this support once and also now again twice, and we've got a confirmation of a exhaustion signal. This is super great. We're now going to plot on a target just now. So this is our entry. And where we're going to go with this, who knows? We can use such things as the Fibonacci, and that can give us a bit of an indication of where to put our targets. Or, for instance, we can just leave it to ride. But for the most part, I'd be quite happy with 76%. Now, we do actually have we can actually afford to put quite a lean stop loss on this one because we're looking at 5.23 risk reward here, and we can use some areas of liquidity. Like I said, we're breaking through here and we've got some key consolidation in this area. We never want to put our stop loss right on that kind of support because there's a very good chance we'll hit that because we'll get tested, but it does mean that we're going to have a few buys. We could be ultra lean and put it just below this most recent low. Otherwise there's not really any point, to be honest. So we want to kind of choose a bit of an area of liquidity. I'm talking like when we see these little areas of consolidation right here, and then also kind of conjoined with these significant points of pivots or fractals or highs and lows, whatever you want to call it. And then we kind of break through. So we know that there's a lot of buys that have pushed this price through. They pushed it again there. And now we're looking at potential hold again, which is great. So we're going to give it a bit of breathing space and pop it down to here. And you can also add further entries as well if you want, and not kind of risk all your capital at once, but I put it somewhere midway in this kind of consolidation zone. And that's pretty much how I play it. You can additionally look at other factors like the RSI or even the alpha wave, and just quickly note to see if there is any kind of other significant factors at play. So we could arguably say that there is a bullish divergence coming in. Again, this wasn't actually pre-planned, but when you start to see these things coming together, when we break out, we get these signals, and then it's not surprising that we'll see things like a bullish divergence appear as well. And it just helps to add additional confidence to it. But anyway, this is my trade setup. I would 100% be going in on this, and we'll see how this turns out. And it holds nicely there. So if we can see that, it comes back down and it holds nicely just here and here again in that little area of consolidation before it just absolutely breaks and smashes up. And that's exactly what we want to be looking for. So that, guys, gives you a bit of an idea of the exhaustion signals, how to use them, and also how to change them if you want as well. Hope that helps, and until next time, guys.